the Ukraine-Russia crisis. As we all know by now, Vladimir Putin of Russia has invaded Ukraine with his military forces in spite of long-standing reassurances that they had no intentions of doing so. Of course, Putin came up with reasons that he was responding to requests for help from the Russian-orientated eastern states of Ukraine in their war with the main Ukraine government, and that there was oppression and genocide from what he terms the Nazis in the Ukrainian government. Pretty standard stuff, used in the past by Adolf Hitler to justify his annexations and invasions of neighbouring countries. Putin has had a long history of stated intentions to bring Russia back to its state of former glory, and has keenly felt the past collapse of the then Soviet Union. But in invading Ukraine as part of achieving his objective, has Putin really put Russia onto a path of becoming great again? Russia has had its own Vietnam in its past when they invaded Afghanistan. History shows that great military powers, when invading other countries, when the citizens of that country object to the takeover, experience disastrous consequences. In World War II, the German military had to commit appreciable resources to dealing with the resistance organisations of the countries they invaded. So appreciable that the Allies gave these resistance organisations as much assistance as they could. America, with all of its military might, could not defeat the people of Vietnam, and finally had to succumb to pressures from its own citizens and withdraw its forces. Previous powers like the Japanese and French also did not succeed in subjugating the Vietnamese. Russia experienced the same in Afghanistan. It had to finally withdraw because of the armed resistance it encountered over some considerable period, as well as the resistance of its own citizens who did not appreciate their children being returned in coffins, as well as the economic effects that this military venture was costing them. The effect was so great, it contributed to the collapse of the Soviet Union. We have the same conditions today with Putin's venture to capture Ukraine. His citizens are already out there being arrested as they protest against his war, along with demonstrators amongst the citizens of almost every country on the planet. Severe economic sanctions are being applied to Russia from Western countries to strangle Putin's ability to keep his war going. Putin has only committed a part of his military forces to invade Ukraine, possibly keeping the bulk in reserve to deal with anyone who attempts to intercede, but also possibly to save money. The Ukrainians themselves have shown no desire to be part of the Russian Federation under Putin, and their military and citizens are strongly fighting the invasion. The intent of the citizens of Ukraine looks strong enough to keep on going, even if Putin is successful in installing a puppet government. This is commendable from the Ukrainian citizenry, considering that they have been abandoned by the Western nations. Western nations are providing military hardware to the Ukraine though. So is Putin really going to achieve his objective of creating a great Russia again under his leadership? Or is he going to completely destroy his objectives? Putin, in his speeches, has lied, deceived, fabricated, and he has done so quite calmly, without any show of remorse. In this, Putin shows definite psychopathic tendencies, and as most police detectives will tell you, a psychopath's very condition is often his own undoing. Putin risks going into disaster, but he can't see it, in spite of Russia's past disastrous invasion of Afghanistan. They did not succeed then, and history shows that it is highly likely they will not succeed now. In fact, Putin may destroy himself. This is probably why Western leaders like Joe Biden, the American president, won't commit themselves to saying anything in response to shouted media questions. He and his wife just put their heads down and head for their helicopter. Biden may have been advised that this will be a likely outcome for Putin, but he is a politician who is not enjoying overwhelming popularity. He cannot be seen to be wrong. But I am not a Western leader, so I can stick my neck out and predict thus. To quote Winston Churchill, "Now, this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning." This whole mess would not occur at all if we, as one species, lived under one periodically elected and democratic government. I have dealt in detail with this in previous videos on my Facebook page, Future for Humankind, and on YouTube under the same heading. I'm sure you don't want to hear it all again, but do consider it. The loss of even one life is unacceptable. Putin will cost many lives. We, as a species, require a far more stable and safe future.